Hey guys, welcome to our dirty webcam video filmed on a potato in the beautiful San Fernando Valley. And we're filming these low quality blogs while our editors are working on Epic History X-Men Volume 2. That's going to be on Vimeo on demand, hopefully sometime next month. And also don't forget that you can get Epic History Volume 1 on Vimeo on demand right now for the price of a comic book. So let's see here. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite television show, like of all time ever. I'm ruined for television shows now. Mad Men. Oh my gosh, I've been watching this show in secret for about a year. I haven't really talked about it on Twitter or anywhere. I didn't want to. I just wanted to like enjoy it, because that's one thing. It's like once you start doing reviews on shows and stuff, it kind of becomes your job, and then you can't just like sit and enjoy it, you know, because like
Game of Thrones.
You know, I love Mad Men more than Game of Thrones. It's a fact. It's a fact. This show is so fucking good. It is just a master level television filmmaking. Okay, this show is going to last for lifetimes, generations. Okay, people can go back and watch this forever. It's never going to be not worth watching ever. Okay, this is like evergreen television shows. It's also very one of the things I love about Mad Men and Matthew Weiner is that he puts all this esoteric stuff in here. There's a lot of metaphysical things going on within this show that like I really appreciate. I mean, you can just tell from like if you look at, you know, his production company, their logo at the end is the sun card from the tarot. Which the sun card of the tarot is in my calendar next month. But anyways, and that is a card of universal endorsement. So, I mean, if Matthew Weiner is putting a tarot card as his production company's logo, then I would assume that he understands things, esoteric things, and he's into these sorts of things. And, you know, I definitely see it in the show. It took him, let's see, about 5 or 6 years from like when he first started thinking about the show and doing research for it up until when it became a pilot, you know, and after the pilot, obviously it was been picked up. It's had 7 seasons, 7.5 because this last season was split up into 2. But, and also another thing before we get into it is if you have never seen Mad Men, please don't watch this. Please do not watch this. Like, go back, watch it. You can watch it on Netflix. That's where I began watching it on. And it's just like the best treat of your life. It's fucking amazing. So, anyways, as I was saying, so I love the fact that like Matthew Weiner did all this research before he even, like he thought about this for like 5 years, you know, before it got, you know, anywhere. And I think a lot of the best stories are stories where a writer does have that much time to do the research, you know, to really get into it. I mean, George R.R. Martin has spent a lifetime doing research on medieval stuff, and that's why he's so amazing with his stuff. And also Frank Herbert from Dune, he did research for 6 years before he started writing anything, you know. So I'm just a really big fan of anyone who goes to those links and really appreciates the material that they're writing about enough to research it for fucking years on end, all right? That's dedication, and I love it. This show is just, it's just straight up talent. There's no gimmicks. There's no gimmicks about it. It's just amazing. It's well written, well produced, well directed, well acted. It's gorgeous. The costume design, the hair, I mean, the lighting, the sets, it's fucking ridiculous. So before we get started, let's talk about the overall major themes of Mad Men. And I would say that the number one theme of Mad Men is the idea of illusion. You know, this show is constantly showing you that advertisements are illusions, that people are illusions, that our lives can be illusions, you know? I mean, they're always talking about these things, and especially in advertising, you know? I mean, that's what they deal with, is like Hollywood and advertising. It's just like it's a whole industry based upon making an illusion, making people believe something about something when they don't give two shits about it, you know? Which is like, it's power. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do. And it's like advertising is like, okay, personally, I fucking can't deal with commercials, all right? I don't have cable in my house. Like, I don't deal with that sort of shit. I turn it off on the computer when I see it. Like, I hate it because it's just fucking disgusting to me. But the whole thing is like, you know, advertising doesn't have to be evil, you know? It's like advertising itself isn't inherently evil. It's an art form. I mean, it is an art form. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that, like, it's fucking witchcraft. It's a spell. Like, they're making these little spells, these jingles, these little things that just get stuck in your brain, you know, and you just keep thinking about it. And, like, I mean, it's just crazy how pervasive, like, slogans are, you know. I mean, I've adopted corporate slogans into, like, my personal life, like, where I say, like, one of my favorite ones is, if it fits, it ships. From the USPS, you know, little postal box, whatever thing. But, like, that's, like, that slogan, like, describes so many things in my life, you know, and it's like, it's so fucked up. Like, and that's how, it's like in your subconscious and you can't get rid of it. And the sad part is like, this art form is being used instead of, like, seeding people into, like, being better people and, like, doing things that are healthy. It's like, you know, being driven by corporations who have all this money to, like, hire these people, and then they, like, do their wishes, which is just selling crap to people, which is usually crap. I mean, it's very rarely that someone's selling you something that's not going to fuck you up. You know, these, like, cigarettes and stuff like that, and Coca-Cola and all the people who have the most money for advertising are usually products that fucking kill you, you know. That's just a fact. Another interesting thing about this is that the character of Don Draper is kind of based loosely on George Lois, who was an advertising man in the 60s. This is his book, Damn Good Advice for People with Talent. I highly recommend picking up this book. This book is fantastic. It's like, it's really simple. It just has, like, little rules, and it tells you, like, this is the rule, and has, like, a thing, like, from his life, you know.
If you're an artist, that is a must-have.
It's a must-have if you're an artist. If you work in a creative industry, like, this book is so great. And that's another thing about Mad Men that I fucking appreciate to the, like, millionth degree, is, like, as somebody who has gone from just being an artist to having a small business that is a creative business, and watching Mad Men and how they do business, because they're, you know, advertising is also a creative business. It's really helped me learn a lot about how to do this sort of stuff, because I have no fucking clue, you know. I'm just a fucking artist. I went to art school. I don't know nothing about nothing. So it's been great. Like, it's been like a college class in how to, like, have a creative business, which has been fantastic. So illusions being one theme, I think another theme is cycles. You see, you know, people living these cycles where they keep doing the same things over and over again. They have the same themes in their own lives, you know, and things like that. That's something I really look out for. And another thing that I love looking out for, and this is something like an episode by episode deal, is something to look out for is when things that are happening to everybody. Like, you'll see an episode where, like, everyone is, like, discovering something new. Like, Sally will discover something, and then Peggy will also make some new discovery of something. You know, it's like they'll all, like, you'll see these characters all have the same things happening to them, like, but it, like, happens in different ways in their lives because, of course, you know, the same energy will affect people's lives differently, which makes me think that, like, Matthew Weiner might be into astrology a little bit, you know, because that's the whole thing, is, like, the idea of these, like, planets and their gravities affecting our lives and stuff like that, and how, like, this planetary alignment can, like, put a certain energy into the air that affects everybody, but all in these different ways, but it's also a similar theme, you know, for the day. Like, or maybe it's just good storytelling. I don't know, but I fucking love it. I think it's fantastic. Another thing to watch out for in this show is, you know, evolution. All of these characters evolve, and you see all these different evolutions going on, not only with them, but also with the world around them. I mean, that's one thing that's also brilliant about Mad Men, is the time period that they're in is a fucking character, okay? Like, the time period, the 60s, which was, like, this time of great change. We talked about it a lot in Epic History, X-Men Volume 1. Talk about everything that's going on. Like, it was a sweeping fucking changes going on back then, okay? So, like, it's no surprise to me that they set this back then in such a tumultuous time, because you can really show where they started and where they went was just so dramatically different, you know? I mean, you start with them in the 60s, like, you know, in 1960, and you see how, like, they all live in this, like, illusion, like, they all have this, like, slicked back hair, and they're all wearing suits and all this stuff, and, you know, and they're living that commercial illusion that they're selling in a way, you know, because this is right when commercials first started coming out. So, like, they're very, very, like, people are buying into it when it first comes out. It's the most powerful when it first comes out. The spell is the strongest when it's first cast, okay? So this is the first time advertisements have been in people's homes. It's the first time people have televisions. You know, everybody has a TV. So, I mean, it really is the first time in the world where everyone's been constantly dealing with advertisements all the time. And as a result, people start believing these commercials and believing that this is what their lives should be like. They want to live a life that's a commercial, you know? And like, as you see, as time goes on, you know, you see how things change, and you see how like some of these illusions drop away, and how you see some of them don't, you know, and how these characters evolve, and how the time period evolves. And I think part of the reason why Matthew Weiner wanted to set this in the 60s, you know, not only because of all the amazing changes going on, and also because it's just a really fucking cool time, but also because it mirrors kind of what I feel is going on with us right now. I mean, we're having so much sweeping change happen, so much like new technologies, like all these new things happening all the time around us. And it's just like, you know, if you look at, you know, the beginning of the 2000s and you look at 2015, you know, it's just like, holy shit, like everybody's got a smartphone with internet and all this stuff. I mean, like our lives have changed in these really dramatic ways, but they also stay the same in a lot of ways too. And I really appreciate that. I feel like Matthew Weiner really goes through to try to show you these characters and their lives, and just what life is, you know, and just how you slowly evolve, you know, and how we all slowly evolve. It's just beautiful. So let's get into it now. I'm going to kind of just talk about each character and kind of how their character ended up, and kind of my thoughts and feelings. I'm really going to be
warn people about this. They haven't watched it.
I'm re-warning you. Okay, now, this is like the second time I'm going to warn you. Turn this off if you have not seen Mad Men. Don't watch this. Please don't do this to yourself.
Because you're going to spoil everything.
You're going to spoil one of the best television experiences you can ever have for yourself, you know? And the thing is, I don't like TV, okay? I don't watch a lot of television, all right? And, fuck, man, after this show, I don't know if I'm going to watch any television, because, like, there's just nothing that compares to it. You know, it's just a fact. So, all right. So, let's start with, like I said, we're going to be talking about mainly like the last episode. So, I want to open it up with my favorite thing that happened. I love that Peggy and Stan finally got together. I've been waiting so many seasons for this. Like, I've just been like, when are they just going to do it? Like, they just need to be together, you know? It's like, that's like his work wife, and like she's just so dumb, like she just doesn't understand. Like, she's so smart about business, and like she's such a badass like in her career, but like she just doesn't understand that part of things. Like, she's just not good with romantic relationships, and it's just adorable. I love that over the few seasons they've built up their little phone conversations, you know, where you always see them talking on the phone. And they're so cute when they talk on the phone about problems. Like, that's some of my favorite scenes, like, in the whole show. And that they did you know, Stan professes his love for her over the phone was just so great. So everything I needed in my life, you know. And Stan, oh my gosh, like, I love his evolution as a character. I mean, he first comes in as this kind of jerky, you know, dude that's like, hey, you know, and when him and Peggy like sat in their underwear or naked or whatever doing their work that one day, that was so funny. I mean, it's like he came in, was kind of a jerk to Peggy because partly he liked her, but partly, you know, he was just like, I don't want to work for a girl or with a girl or whatever. And over time, she just like wins him over, like, and he like respects her and falls in love with her, you know, because he just sees how fucking badass she is, you know, and he just loves being with her. And like, he always has her back too. Like in the very last episode, you see where she goes and gets that account, you know, like, because you see Peggy and she's like flourishing in this corporate environment. Like, a lot of people are going to be ground up by this corporate machine, but not Peggy, man. She's there and she's going to fucking keep her Chevalier account, and Stan's going to stand behind her and fucking just have her back, you know. I mean, he's like the still one, and the one who isn't like freaking out all the time, that like helps ground her, you know. And she's like the crazy one, and the one who's always aspiring and reaching for more, that like helps him, who's very like self-satisfied in where he is, you know, helps him, like inspires him to kind of work a little harder and reach a little higher. I mean, they're just such great compliments to one another. I love his beard. I love like what a bear of a man he is. Like, I can just imagine like how good his beard smells, you know. I mean, I just love them together. I have a thing about beards, whatever. But yeah, so that was like, I died. I'm sure I like woke up my neighbor because I was like watching it in the middle of the night, and then I just was like, like freaking out. Like, I was like physically moving and yelling and freaking out. Like, and then when fucking Peggy is like, she's sitting there and she's talking to him, and he says, I love you. And she's like, what? Like, the way she says what is like priceless. Like, that delivery is fantastic. and then like showing her like talking it out, like dealing, like never even thinking about the fact that Stan is right in front of her and that like they're totally a great couple together, you know, and that they work so well together. She's never even thought about it, and her like talking it out to herself and like discovering, she's like, holy fuck, I am in love with you too. Like, and then when she's like, wait, Stan, are you there? And you fucking hear him running up in the hallway. I fucking died. I am a romantic at heart. I'm a romantic realist, and I love, and I just love seeing these characters. It made my day. All right, so we're gonna move on. Elisabeth Moss deserves all the Emmys. In fact, Mad Men deserves all the Emmys. Elisabeth Moss' portrayal as Peggy has just been inspirational for me. Like, I see a lot of myself in her. Like, I've infiltrated a lot of male-dominated industries, and, you know, she fucking does it like the way I did it, you know?
You should tell people about Peggy's arc from start to finish. What happened?
All right, Peggy's arc from start to finish. Let's go. Okay, so Peggy starts as a secretary, you know? It's the only job in the workplace a woman could get back then, really, you know? And then she slowly moves her way up, you know, she does like the copywriter thing. Don sees like the abilities that she has and that she has like potential, you know, and Don, knowing that like he's come from nothing and he knows that she's coming from like, you know, she just needs a chance, you know, just like he did. So he gives her that chance, and she fucking runs with it, you know, she does not disappoint him. I mean, all she does is like, you just watch her just work it and fucking learn how to like do this business, you know, like start hanging out with the dudes, you know, get past her weird like sexual hang-ups, like fucking yelling at dudes back, you know. I mean, it's just like she really gets this great sense of herself, and it's just like amazing to watch her rise, you know. I mean, it's just so powerful. She's so great, and like she's the example of the woman who like did it for all of us in the 60s, you know. I mean, she's like, you know, the second wave of feminism that happened in the 60s and 70s. It's like those were the women, you know, that made it possible for everybody else, you know, all the other women to come in from behind, you know. It's like, and that's kind of how it works. It's like, to infiltrate into something, you have to like have somebody come in and fucking do it, and like, you know, it is really uncomfortable and it's gonna suck, and there's gonna be times that are gonna be really hard, and like people are gonna talk shit to you, but you just gotta fucking keep doing it no matter what. And then you make a little space, and then another couple girls come through, and they make a little bit more space, and then another couple girls come through, and before you know it, you know, it's fine. And it's just women are people and they work in the working place. Oh my gosh, what a fucking notion, you know? It's like, it's amazing. So, yeah, it's like you just know that Peggy's gonna be just fine, you know. I love that Stan finally tells her, he's like, you gotta let Dawn go, you know, and you gotta do you, and like, I'm standing here, you know, and you know that she finally is like, she's finally become a completed person, because she's a little off balance because she only has the career and doesn't focus as much on her personal life. And she finally has that, you know, to help her kind of balance it out, because her career is her life. So she does need a man that she just works with, you know, like, and that's something I fucking love. Like, I totally agree with that. I would love to see more people in relationships that work together. I think it can be a really magical experience, and it can be one of the best, most intimate relationships of your life. You know, it's just so fulfilling. So fuck yeah, Peggy Olsen. I fucking love you. All right. So on to our next female character. Let's talk about Joan. Christina Hendricks, man. I mean, what a role that she got. Like, so awesome. Like, she is so beautiful. Let's just get that out of the way. And she is like, thank you. And like, Joan is the archetypal woman, you know? I mean, she's like the Venus of Willendorf. She's like just curvy and like, she's just the opposite of Peggy, you know? It's like you see Peggy and she's like this not really comfortable being a woman, you know, and like wants to play with the boys and do all this stuff. And then you have Joan on the other side, who's just all woman, you know, all the time, can't help but be a woman. There ain't no way you're not going to notice that she's a woman, you know, and she has no interest in being one of the guys. Like, she wants to be accepted by them, not by being one like Peggy, but have them accept her as a fucking woman, you know, which is like hot and awesome. So, and the thing is like, I feel like Matthew Weiner like really puts Joan in that role specifically. Like, she is supposed to symbolize the feminine archetype, you know, all of the women in the world. That's who she's fucking symbolizing, okay? And I love the fact that, like, you know, Matthew she is put through everything that all the women in the world are put through. I mean, at one point she's raped. At one point she, becomes somewhat of a prostitute and sells herself. At another point she's worshipped, by by NCIS dude, and he's fucking worshiping her yoni, that. And like, she experiences all the things that all the women experience, and she like, and the thing that I love about Joan is like, she never makes the same mistake twice. She may make a mistake because we're all human and we all don't know everything about everything. So we're bound to make mistakes, but she always learns from them, never does the same thing again, and always moves forward, And it's like when you first see her, she's like the main big office secretary, and she thinks that she's kind of gotten as high as you can get, like she doesn't even see that there's another place until Peggy comes in, and then she sees Peggy like become a copywriter, and then Joan starts thinking, she's like, well, fuck. If fucking she can fucking do it, then I can fucking do it. And not that Joan wants to be a creative or anything like that, but she wants to be a boss, because she is a fucking boss. That chick like runs shit. She is so badass. So to watch her go from that, and then it's like, even though she did have to sell herself and like, that fucking sucks, at the same time, it's like, I feel like it fucking paid off for her, It's like, she got a partnership in a company, which is like unheard of. I mean, there's no way, like back then. I mean, she was like an executive. She became an executive like in the 60s as a woman. Like, that's insane. And then from there on, like, in the very ending where she starts hanging out with NCIS guy, which is like super hot. I love them in Florida doing coke. That was the cutest thing ever when he's like, they start getting all hopped up and they're like, oh, let's get married. Like, oh, I don't know. What do you think? Oh, like that was adorbs. I love seeing her enjoying her life for once because she's worked so hard. And she fucking did it. And I love that she like left McCann, and was just like, fuck you. Like, she's like, I did the prostitute thing once, but I ain't doing it again. Again, it's like she learns from her mistakes. She never makes them twice. She's like, I'm not doing that again. Like, fuck you. I already did it. No. And I just love that she left there, took her money, get it, girl. But then in the end, so you have NCIS dude, I can't remember his name, and he's like, he has the best voice. He's, again, it's like tries to get her to choose. Like, she's like, oh my God, I could, after talking to Ken, I could, become a producer, which she'd be an amazing producer. I mean, she's like built to be a producer. She just knows everybody and knows how to talk to them. And that's what producers do. So yeah, so like, and he's like, well, it's me or the producing thing. And she's like, says to him, like, I would never make you choose. Why would you make me choose? And in the end, like, she chooses to move on and keep going and until she finds a man who will go with her, who's not going to make her compromise herself, and you see her in the first season where all she wants to do is get married, like that's her big goal is like, oh, I'm a secretary for now, but I'm just doing this so I can get married and then I can be a housewife and whatever. Okay. That was like her, like in the first season, that was what her deal was. And she got married and everyone was like, oh, look at your ring. Ah, and all the girls like freaking out of the engagement rings like they always do. And it's just, and then you see the guy later fucking, rapes her in the office and is just like a piece of shit idiot, But even then, even though she fucking got with a stupid guy and she totally made a mistake, again, she never made that mistake again. She didn't marry like NCIS dude. She's like, you know what? I'm not getting married again. I'm never going to be under some man's power, And by the end of the series, she is no longer under any man's power. She's starting her own company. Like, that's so uplifting. That's so uplifting because like that's what women need to do. Like as a whole, every woman in the world, we all need to stop sacrificing our lives and our dreams and our shit for other dudes all the time. It's like it's like they don't do that shit for us, so why should we do it for them? We shouldn't. No one should sacrifice anything for someone else. Everyone should be together because they just work together and they both like do the same things and they're both okay with that. No one should ask anyone to like not do something or do something, which is such a fantastic message. So yeah, big ups to Christina Hendricks. Just loved her work. I really hope she keeps getting roles because dang, she's amazing. All right, so let's move on to Roger Sterling. I've always loved Roger. I wish I could be more like Roger. Like, I feel like in a way I can be like charismatic and have fun like him, but like I just love that he just doesn't have a lot of fucks to give, and I wish I could be more like that. And I love watching Roger, and he doesn't really change necessarily. He's just like pimping throughout the whole show, I mean, he does take on more responsibilities, but he always just kind of like, he's always a cool fucking guy, you know? Like, in the end, he does right by Joan by making sure that their son is taken care of. And also, not only that, but I love that in the end, you know, he finds Marie Calvé and he gets married again. You know, it's like, Roger, when are you stop gonna get married? But the thing is like, you know, if Matthew Weiner is into esoteric philosophies and stuff, he does understand that life is made up of cycles. We all have these cycles that we constantly do in our lives, you know, like we're always getting into the same trouble, making the same mistakes, doing the same things over and over again. And Roger, he's always getting married to like some sexy, saucy woman, you know, like, so it was, but at the same time, it's like you believe that him and Marie, like he's finally met his match, you know, it's like she's not going to let him, you know, be a dick to her. Like they're on the same level. Whereas before he was like, oh, I'm going to, you know, date or marry my 20-year-old secretary. It's like, you're just married your daughter. Like you're her like dad. Like that's an uneven relationship. So he finds an even relationship. And I love that you see him ordering champagne and lobster in French, you know, like with this hot mustache, like in love, you know. And the thing is like, even though we do the same things over and over again, sometimes we have to keep doing them to find the right time that we do it, you know. Like the other times he had gotten married, it like wasn't right. And so this time
you can't evolve with someone too young. You're at a different level.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't evolve with a younger wife, all right? You're gonna have to be your dad the whole time. It's like that you can't evolve as a person. So him with Marie, he can finally kind of evolve as a person and like be who he is and not have to worry, I don't know, like about being someone's dad all the time. I don't know. Like it's just, they're so cute. Then, all right, next up we have Pete Campbell. And I just cannot believe that they have made me love Pete Campbell as much as I do. Like, he is such a dick in the first couple seasons. Like, he's such a little asshole. He's such a little asshole. And I just love him by the end. Another problem I had with Pete Campbell, other than the fact that he was a total wiener when you first see him in the first couple of seasons, is the fact that the actor, he ruined, like, I hated his character in Angel, like, so much. Like, he ruined the 4th season of Angel. Like, so for me to go from, like, hating his character for being a weasel, on top of hating the actor for fucking up a show I liked, to completely loving him is, like, it's such a testament. And I love the fact that, like, as an actor, he was willing to let Matthew Weiner, like, cut his hair back, you know, a little bit every season, because he's not really losing his hair. Like, he just fucking committed to that for, like, 8 years. I mean, it's like 8 years of like someone just slowly cutting your hairline back, and then like when you're off season, you just have this fucked up hair. Like, that is fucking dedication, and I appreciate that. Like, I see a lot of myself in Pete Campbell too, like a little bit of the high strungness and like the whole like, what the fuck is this shit, you know, where you just like get pissed off at stuff, you know. And I love that by the end of the series, he kind of like, that attitude of his had gotten him in so much trouble and it stressed him out so much that he finally is kind of like broken by it, and he just doesn't even care anymore. Like, he just stops. I don't know. Like, he seems to come to a good place with it where he can, like, he's just like, I'm a different person now, you know, Trudy. And like, she sees that. Like, she sees that like he's kind of figured out. And the thing is like, he was so upset, and partly he was always agitated because he didn't know what he really wanted, you know? Like, he felt like, oh, it's my career, and oh, you know, it's doing this stuff. And in the end, he realizes that it was his family all along. Like, that was the thing that really was more important to him and meant something to him, you know? Like, it wasn't his career. He found out that wasn't his whole life, you know? And like, and that's how it is for some people. It's like, some people, their whole life is their career. Some people, you know, they're meant to have a family. And Pete Campbell's kind of one where it's like a family makes him a better person. He needs to have that. More so than a career. And I love that. I didn't know if Trudy was going to take him back. I was really kind of glad that she did. Like, they're really cute together. That scene at Roger Sterling's wedding to his secretary, where Trudy and Pete Campbell dance together, is one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. I mean, it's just like so cute how they're doing this like little old-timey dance together, and it just like made me love them as a couple so much, you know, because before I was kind of rooting for him to get with Peggy, you know, but like But at the end, it's like, no, like him and Trudy are a match. Like they're totally a match, you know. And it was great to see them kind of get their fairy tale ending where they get together and they move to a new place and they kind of get to start over because they needed to. Like there's no way that they could have started over where they were. There was no way they could be together where they were. That was illustrated in the scene with the friend. After Pete leaves, it's like a couple episodes back, but you know, Pete stops over, he leaves, and then her tennis friend is like played by Katie Walder. I know her. She says, you know, oh, I'm so glad that you and Pete can be on such good terms. Essentially saying, you know, like, how could you be talking to this guy? He cheated on you. Reminding her constantly that, like, judging her of being nice to a man that cheated on her. And she's like, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, he's my baby's father. You know, he's my child's father. Like, I can't just be a dick to him forever. You know, like, I don't want to do that to my child. And I shouldn't do that to him either, you know. And it's like, it was great that they got their thing. Like I said, the predominant theme of Mad Men is seeing through illusions, okay? So with Pete Campbell's character, when he first starts out, he wants exactly what Don Draper has, which is nothing but an illusion. He wants this 60s nuclear family, you know, wife and 2 kids in the suburbs and a good job and all this stuff. But he just wants it because he's been told that he's supposed to want that. He's been told that that's the good life and that's what you're supposed to have. And that's
what Don has.
And that's what Don has, you know. And so he wants, that's the perfect life. Like that's the American dream, isn't it? But he just wants it because he thinks he's supposed to want it, not because he actually wants it in his heart, you know? And it's not until he loses that false illusion, you know, and realizes the realities of having the kid, of having the wife and all this stuff, that he's like, wow, I do really want this. Like, I do really want this. Because he kind of goes through this moment where when he divorces his wife and he's cheating on her, he's like, I don't know if I want this. Like, I signed up for this illusion and, like, this is not what I don't know if I want this, because he's so young. I mean, like, these kids are so young when they're getting married. And, like, and then he loses all of it, and then he comes back around where he's like, wow, that is what I wanted, you know? And so he finally learns it for himself and takes it back. And I you know he's going to make the most of it. At least that's the feeling. That's what I like to think, you know. I mean, I like to be an optimist about it. But that was fantastic. And Alison Brie, too. I mean, she's a phenomenal actress. I loved her work as Trudy. She's just fantastic. I would love to see more of her. I cannot believe she also did the voice of Unikitty in the Lego Movie, which makes me love her like infinitely even more. So big ups to her as well. Now let's talk about Betty Draper. Betty is the ultimate illusion. I mean, she is the illusion of the perfect, you know, beautiful 60s housewife, you know, that's being perpetrated by people like Dawn. You know, I mean, she believes that she, like, this is what she's supposed to be, and that's, like, again, the American dream. Like, that's the illusion that she's bought into. But you see how dangerous that illusion is. I mean, she's so immature. She's essentially a child because she's not allowed to evolve. As a housewife, you're not really allowed to evolve, you know? It's just like you just stay at home and you cook dinner, and, I mean, you can evolve yourself and read books, but Betty's just not, she's not smart enough to do that on her own, okay? Like, and she thinks that this is it, you know, like this is it, and she's fucking miserable, you know, and it plays into a book that came out in the 60s called The Feminine Mystique, which explains why all the housewives are so upset and why they're all fucked up and on drugs, because that's another thing. You can't believe how many pharmaceuticals were being given to housewives that were just fucking them up. Like, they were just getting them high and shit like that to help them deal with, like, the boredom of their fucking lives, you know, and how miserable they felt, you know? I mean, it's just like stimulants, downers, whatever. I mean, and it's like, you can see it in Betty. I mean, she's all these things, and it is really great, like, her character, even though she doesn't make these tremendous shifts in her character, by the end of the show, like, she's kind of, like, become at peace with herself, and she's not angry all the time, and she seems, like, softer and gentler, and she starts going back to school for psychology, which is really funny, because it's like, of course she would, because, like, she really just wants to, like, figure herself out, because she's obviously, you know, she knows she's a little crazy, and she wants to kind of, like, figure that out. And then, you know, the fact that they killed her in the show, I mean, you don't see her die, but that she's diagnosed with lung cancer, because, I mean, she's been smoking like a chimney through the whole thing. It's like,
I had to get somebody.
you know, it's like everybody's smoking all the time. Somebody's got to get fucking lung cancer, you know, and she did. It is kind of surprising that Roger, like, is totally fine and, like, pimping it off, and then, like, Betty's the one who's fucking dying. But, yeah, so, you know, and it's also, you know, we were talking about cycles earlier, is, like, Betty talks about how her mom died, and she helped her mom while her mom wasted away. And in the end, Betty's replaying that same cycle, you know? I mean, she's doing the same thing that she did with her mom, and Sally is taking care of her now. And that ending shot showing, oh my God. And that ending shot where Betty's, like, you see her and, like, she looks, you know, she's got the cancer and she's lost a lot of weight and she's just smoking the cigarette anyways. And how her daughter, who she's had such a hard time with, is like, they're like, despite the fact that they don't get along, like, she loves her mother anyways, and she's there and she's like doing the dishes without her mom even asking her, because she's just like, she's matured, you know, Sally's grown up. And the thing is too, it's like you see this like waning blonde beauty, and you see like the blonde, you know, girl that's just coming into fruition, you know, behind her. And it shows that cycle of life and death. And that scene with like Dawn where he calls her, and then when he says, like, after they're done fighting about stupid stuff, you know, and he just says to her, like, he just says, Birdie, you know, and he's just like breaks down. It's just like, oh my God. Like, even though Betty's a pain in the ass, it's like she's just now figuring it out, and then now she has to go, you know. It's just so unfair, you know. It's so unfair, but it's so great. It's so compelling. And last but not least, let's talk about the man himself, Donald Draper. You handsome guy, you handsome illusion, Donald Draper. Man, thank God that they found Jon Hamm for this. Like, gosh, what a tour de force performance. I'm sure he's sad that, like, his ride is over, but the thing is, it's just like, God, what you have to show for it, you know? I mean, he was an unknown. And that's the thing that's another great thing about this show, is like, everyone's a fucking unknown, you know? Like, they're virtually unknown people that they just, like, found these amazingly talented, you know, people who weren't necessarily getting the roles that they deserved, and, like, gave them something amazing, like amazing parts that, like, you'll never see again, you know? I mean, it's kind of sad because, like, they all know, it's like, I doubt that I'll ever get a role as good as this, but at the same time, it's like, but fuck, you did it, like, and not many people ever get that opportunity. So Dawn goes off. Well, let's start with Dawn, okay? So just like Joan is kind of an archetype for, you know, all the women of the world, I feel like Dawn is the archetype of the kind of the patriarchal society that we live in. I mean, he's like the father figure, the ultimate patriarch, but you see that, like, he is an illusion. He's not even a real person, you know, like this thing that we all believe in, you know, these patriarchal ideas and stuff. It's like, it's all an illusion. It's all a good looking illusion. And like below, it's like, it's so weird and fucked up, and like, you don't even know, you know, like at the very last conversation he has with Peggy, and he says, you know, you don't know, I'm not the man you think I am, you know, and he's so right, you know, and she's like, well, what have you ever done that's so bad? And he tells her, he says, I've broken my vows, you know, I've been with another man's wife, I've done, you know, and he goes down the list and he fucking says it, and she says, that's not true. And any good priest would not say that, you know, and that's another great thing, is I love that he confesses to Peggy because she's got the Catholic thing going on. But, you know, she should have, it's like, that is true, you know, like, that is true. He did do all that stuff. But he's gone from, you know, Dawn's gone from being a nobody to having everything, you know, having this, the illusion, the dream, the family and the car and the suburbs and the job and good looking and, you know, and having the girls on the side and just this amazing, you know, crazy life. And it just leaves him miserable, you know, just leaves him miserable. Like Lou Avery said, Lou, who finally gets his dream of having his fucking little cartoon strip made into a show, you know, where he's like, you know, have fun with your miserable life, Dawn. And that really hits Dawn. Like, he's like, fuck, I am miserable. Like, what's my dream? Like, I don't have a dream to get out of here. Like a lot of people, they do. And the reason why Lou was such a dick when he was working there is because he fucking hated it. He wanted to be working on his cartoon series. He didn't give a shit about advertising. He was just doing that to pay the bills while he was working on his other project, which is awesome. Like, which makes me fucking love Lou. Like, I used to think, I was like, what's his fucking problem? What a dickbag. But then I was like, oh, wait, I totally get that. I've been there. Like, good for him. Like, I'm so proud that he fucking got his stupid little cartoon, going. It's like, fuck yeah, Lou. And I love, too, leading up to the thing where he has the confrontation with the kid in the office who he had said, oh, go in with a joke, and tell him that, you'll have some soap to wash your mouth out with or something, in case you curse again. And he goes in there and he says the thing that Dawn said, which was like, I can't believe you have the balls to come back in here after you embarrassed yourself. And it's like, of course it doesn't work for that kid because he's not fucking Don Draper. Like, you can only say that when you're Don. And how he has this big confrontation with the kid after he gets fired for using, Don's joke wrong. And he says, you don't have any character. You're just handsome. And that hits Don, like, really hard, where he's like, fuck, like, because that's the thing. It's like, being an attractive person, it's like, it is partly true that people, like, people do give you a break, and people, like, do act nice to you or say things to you just because you're attractive to them, not because they really think you're talented or whatever, and that kind of hurts, especially when you are a talented person, because it makes you question your abilities. Like, it makes you think, am I any good? Do I have any talent? Or is it just that I'm attractive, and that sucks. Like, it sucks feeling or thinking that. Like, it makes you feel pretty fucking worthless, because being attractive is not a skill. Okay, it's something that you're just genetically win, in the genetic lottery, it's just something that happens that you have no control over and has no bearing on you. So it's just like, I don't know. I love that he's confronted with that, and that really like touches him and like burns him for a long time. And how, so let's just talk about the ending. Okay, so he's gone on his crazy fucking, he's gone off again, because that's what he does. He has to go off because Don does live as an illusion. I mean, his name is not his name. He is not who he is, at all. And more than just like, literally he's not Dick Whitman. It's inside. He's presenting this image all the time to people. He's this I'm Don Draper. I'm this fucking advertising executive. And it's just a mask. Okay. It's just a fucking mask. And like every now and then, when he can't take it anymore, and when that mask just starts to crack, like, and the real Dick Whitman who's inside of him is like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. None of this is real. And that's why he always goes on the lam, that's why he goes on the run. He's like, I can't do this. I gotta fucking figure my shit out and confront some stuff and deal with it, and then like, I'll be fine. And that was one thing that I thought was great, is everyone on the show keeps saying, after he's gone, everyone's worried. It's like, wow, he's really been gone for a minute and no one knows what the fuck's going on. But they're like, it'll be fine. He's going to be back. He does this. And again, cycles, it's like, that's what he does do. Like, he pretends, has a crisis, freaks out, runs away, figures it out, and then comes back refreshed.
Crisis
and crisis and rebirth. It's a constant crisis and rebirth for Donald Draper. So in the ending, all right, so he's made it out to California. He knows that Betty's dying. And he's like, I'm going to come back out there right now. I'm going to come back out there. And they're like, we don't need you. You're just going to make things worse. Fuck off. Stay where you are, And so he realizes that like his ex-wife doesn't need him and his kids don't need him. Okay, like, in fact, he'll just make it worse if he's there. So he's like, fuck, like, they really don't need me, which, like, that sucks, especially being a dad. It's like, I'm sure it's like, wow, feeling unneeded, has got to be really not awesome. Then he goes to find that blonde girl that was related to Anna, who Don Draper was married to. And he tries to go help her, because she's always a mess. She's always in trouble. So he goes to try to help her. And they go to that retreat together. And, while she's out there, she's like, why are you trying to help me? Like, you don't even fucking know me. Like, we're not even really related. Like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why you're trying to help me. And then, she skedaddles. But the reason he's trying to help her isn't because he's like, oh, I want to help you. You know, the reason he's trying to help her is because he needs someone to help, because that will distract him from his own problems. You know, like, he's got a lot of problems, but he doesn't want to deal with them. He just wants to, like, oh, well, let me get mixed up in your bullshit and let me help you with your bullshit instead of dealing with my own bullshit, because it's easier to deal with other people's bullshit than it is with your own. So, you know, there's her, and she's like, you know, so she doesn't need him either. She fucking runs off, and he's just stuck there. And also, too, I mean, he finds out before then about Diana Bauer, that waitress that he had met, that mysterious waitress, who essentially was a feminine version of Dawn. I mean, she was that mysterious, like, had that same, like, sexual hotness, that darkness, that slickness, you know, and you know that, like, that sadness, you know, that sorrow that they fucked up, you know, and that kind of sadomasochism, you know, behind it, like that smoldering shit that people feed into. And Don, like, totally fed into it, but it's also because he was looking into his own mirror, and he goes to find her, and then he finds out, he's like, she's a tornado, dude. She's like, you're not the first fucking guy to show up here looking for her, you know? It's like, and that's kind of like how Don has been in his life. I mean, you know, the husband says, oh, Diana's left a trail of bodies behind her, you know, and Don has too. I mean, he's like ruined, like, not ruined a lot of people's lives, but like, he has not been careful with people, and he's been reckless, and he's hurt people, you know. I mean, he hurt Betty, he hurt Megan, you know. I mean, I think that he hurt Megan the worst, because, I mean, she should not have taken that $1 million check from him. Like, I mean, Megan's dad had it right when he said to her, you know, like, you're not doing this on your own. Like, everything you have has been given to you by someone. And like, I thought you were better than that. Like, I thought that you were going to go out and figure it out on your own and make it on your own, because that's like the only thing that's like worth having is what you earn yourself. And that's true. Like, I think that Megan was kind of ruined by Dawn. Like, she had this promise, this potential. She had all this stuff, but like, she just ended up getting with Don, getting sucked into his bullshit. And like, you know, obviously, you know, like, she gets chewed up by the Donald Draper machine and spit out. And in the end, you know, he feels so bad, and he like gives her $1 million thinking that he's just like, I just don't ever, you know, I just want you to have, I don't want you to ever, I feel so bad for what I've done. But at the same time, he's really just hurting her more. You know, it's like, she doesn't need $1 million. Like, now what is she? She never has to do anything ever. You know, her life is fucking over. Like, but I don't know, man. Maybe Megan figures it out. Maybe, I don't know. You know, I hope she figures it out. But that $1 million check was like, don't take that, girl. But, you know, she did. But anyways, back to Dawn. So Dawn, she leaves, and he's stuck there, and he can't leave. You know, he there's nowhere for him to go, and nobody needs him. Like, there's nobody who needs him. He can't find anybody to take care of. And so he's just sitting there, like, by the phone, and that lady comes up to him and is like, all right, let's go to the session, you know, come on, weirdo, you know, like, get up, let's fucking make it happen. And you know, he goes to that session, and he sees a man, and this man comes up, and he's kind of like the faceless man, you know. I mean, this man is someone, he feels like no one notices him. Nobody notices him at work. His family doesn't need him. They don't notice him. You know, they don't care. He just feels like nothing. He feels like nothing. He feels like nobody cares for him, and that there's no place for him in this world. And he doesn't know what to do, you know, more than that. It's like, he doesn't know how to get someone to need him, you know, because he feels so impotent, you know, and just so frustrated. And like, you'd think that like, oh, Dawn over there is sitting opposite him, who's like, oh, you'd never think that Dawn has the same problems as this fucking poor guy. You know, like, Dawn, look at him. He's so handsome. He's got this amazing job. He's got millions of dollars. He fucks all these hot girls, you know, oh my gosh. But Dawn stands up and goes over and hugs this man, and they cry together because like, Dawn is that man. Like, even though they're complete opposites are also the same, okay? And that's something that, like, that's a universal law. It's like, anything that's like opposite ends of the spectrum, they still deal with the same issues, okay? And so Dawn, being an illusion, essentially, nobody sees the real Dawn. Like, nobody sees Dick Whitman. Like, nobody has any interest in Dick Whitman. All they want is Donald Draper, which is a total lie, you know? He lives a total lie, and nobody sees him. and how Don is also the faceless man. Like, they're both faceless, you know, and that he realizes that. He's like, fuck, like, no, like, I feel the same way, and he confronts that about himself, you know? And that's the thing, it's like, you don't necessarily, you know, with these psychological issues, you don't necessarily win or beat them. You just need to confront them and be aware of them, you know? Like, that's just, and so he's finally, like, sees this and notices this about himself and lets it out, you know? He lets it out. And I love that they decided to put two grown men crying, embracing one another. I mean, you never see that. Like, you never see that in movies. You never see it in television. You never see it in real life, because men are not allowed to show their emotions. They're not allowed to be shown crying because it's seen as weak and emotional and feminine, you know? And that's the thing. And that's such a fallacy. I mean, it's so stupid, because it's like, life is fucking hard, man. Sometimes you gotta cry, and like, shit sucks, and like, not everything's perfect, and like, it's hard, and like, let it out, you know? Like, I'm a big fan of just like, don't bottle it up. Let it out, because bottling it up is just like really unhealthy, and it just ends up being worse in the long run. You know, it's like, you might as well just let it out when it's there. And I think it's really powerful that they decided to show something like that. And I thought that was, you know, I hope to see more of things like that. I hope that I'm able to see more examples of men being able to open up about their emotions and to deal with those things and not be judged for it. You know, like, I thought that was just fucking beautiful. Now, let's get to the very, very last scene. It's pretty amazing. A lot of people are cynical about it. I'm not, and let me explain. So, the very, very last scene, you see Don. He's sitting on the hilltop. You know, he's in his meditative pose, you know. And he's in this good place. Like, and this is the thing too, okay? This is another thing that I want everyone to realize about this scene is Don is completely present in that moment, okay? Now, most of the time, and all of us, all the time, are not present in our lives. We are always thinking about the next thing. We're always like, oh, we got to get this thing, we got to do this thing, and this person needs us, and I got to pay this bill, and we got to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And there's all this shit that you're constantly thinking about, that you're worrying about, that keeps you from being in the present and enjoying the fact that you can just fucking breathe right now, and that you're a person, that you're alive, okay? So Don is finally in a place where there's nowhere for him to go. He has no one that needs him, which is, you know, it's kind of sad in certain ways, but it's also completely freeing in other ways, that nobody needs you. It's like, well, if nobody needs you, then like, you're just free. You're completely free to be you and do what you need to do, which is like a gift in many ways, you know? So he's sitting there, he's like realizing all these things. He's completely open. He's in the moment. He's meditating, and meditation requires you to be in the moment. Like, you have to be focused. That's why meditation is really good for you. I meditate. I think everyone should meditate. I think it should be taught in schools. You know, it's really important. Everybody, if you have an interest in it, go try it. You can go on YouTube and get a guided meditation and just listen to it. You know, just pick one and listen to it, and it's awesome. Just lay down. It's the best thing you'll ever do. So he's sitting there, and he's in the Om. You know, they're doing the Om meditation, you know, where you're like, Om. And for those of you who are not familiar with meditation or with Om, the concept of Om is like, when you do that, essentially you are asking for nothing. You want nothingness, okay? Because that's like the ultimate in the Buddhist thing, is like not being attached to anything, you know, like not having these worldly attachments, you know, you don't want anything. And that's also something that Don's been doing on this trip. I mean, he gave away his car, he's been just giving away his money, he gave away his job, you know, I mean, his ex-wife is dying, you know, it's just like he's given it all up, you know, I mean, he is asking for nothing. But the thing is about asking for nothing is, when you truly ask for nothing, you will receive everything. And in that moment that Don is finally at peace, and he's himself, and he wants nothing, and he's completely open and completely present, in that moment, the universe gifts him with the perfect idea for the perfect Coca-Cola ad that will not only get him out of all of the trouble that he's in at work, it will also allow them to, like, he's gonna get his fucking dick sucked for this commercial, he's gonna win awards for this commercial, he's gonna get a raise for this commercial, he's gonna fucking get a better job, a better office, like, and it's like so funny because like this nothingness leads him right back in to the advertising world, because that's the thing that's like, it's a cosmic joke. It's a cosmic joke, okay? Because anybody who's like familiar with the universe understands that the universe has a hilarious sense of humor, okay? Like fucking hilarious. And so it's like Don needs to be this real person, but then like at the same time it's like the universe leads him right back into it. And again, it's the cycle, I mean, this is his cycle. Like he freaks out, he leaves, he discovers something about himself, and then he goes back and shares that and puts that into his advertising and makes millions of dollars, because at the end of the day too, another law of the universe is like, whatever you're good at, you're supposed to do that. Okay? Like that's kind of like, you have to find a way to do that. Like you've been given a gift, you've been given a skill, and so you're supposed to use it, obviously. And the thing is like Don's skill is the illusion, his skill is creating illusions that fool people, in advertising and also in his own life. And he's so skilled at it that even though it's a fucked up way of existing, he has to do it because that's his fucking greatest talent, It's like, it's so great, And I love that they end with that fucking Coca-Cola commercial. It's like, and they've been hinting at Coke since season 1, okay? They've been hinting at Coca-Cola. It's like, and I love it when they're Eric McCann and the guy says to him, he's saying the accounts that everyone's gonna get, and he's like, when he says it to Don, he's like, Coca-Cola, he says it in this, like this fucking wish, like this ridiculous wish that nobody gets, Don's gonna get this wish.
The biggest account of all time.
Because Coca-Cola is the biggest account of all time. If you didn't know, if you live under a rock, Coca-Cola is one of the most massive fucking corporate entities that there are, besides like McDonald's, okay? So yeah, in the end, like Don does get Coca-Cola, because that's what he does. He just manifests like whatever, and he's always kind of wanted Coke, and he finally gets it. And when he gets it, he fucking hits it so, like he's been thinking about Coke for fucking 8 years or 10 years in that show, like he's been thinking about it. And then he finally batters up and fucking hits it out of the goddamn park, it's just hilarious. And anyways, and then the fact that like they showed that particular fucking 70s ass Coca-Cola ad, like I'd seen that ad before somehow, I don't remember how, but I had seen it like as a kid. And God, I hate Coca-Cola commercials. I really do. They're like the fucking worst. I've always hated them. Especially that one, because it is such bullshit. Like that commercial is such bullshit where these people, and they're like, I want to buy the world a Coke. And like, God, it makes me want to fucking kill myself. It makes me want to claw my eyes out and kill myself because it's a fucking powerful spell, okay? Commercials are witchcraft, all right? They're fucking spells, all right? They work these little spells on you. They get in your brain and like they're affecting you in these fucked up ways that you don't even realize it, okay? And the fact that like when that lady says like, it's the real thing, and she's just like cheesing it like Coca-Cola is the real thing. Like it's just like, it's so fake. It's so fake. But that's what Matthew Weiner is saying is like, reality is an illusion, like all this bullshit that we're doing is an illusion. And so is Coca-Cola, it's like, it's all an illusion. Fuck, that show is so good, man. Like, I know a lot of people are cynical and think that's a cynical way to end the show, but I think it's fucking fantastic. It's a great cosmic joke. I love that Matthew Weiner, he doesn't tell you shit. Like, he does it and you have to notice it. You have to be watching and you have to understand what's going on and figure it out on your own. And fuck, man, that's just so powerful. Oh, what a show. What a show. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself without Dawn in my life. I seriously, I've had these characters, like I've been doing it for about a year, every night here and there I'll watch an episode or two, like after I'm done working, and I don't know what I'm going to do without these people in my lives anymore. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do without seeing what Peggy's doing, and, man, that show's great. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch it again. I want to just go buy them all on Blu-ray and just put them on here and there, whenever, because, man, you can just watch that show again and again. And the thing that's great about Mad Men too is you can go back and you can watch an old episode that you've seen before, and you'll catch entirely new things that you didn't catch before, because there's so many like little tiny words and sentences that you don't always hear, you know? Like it's a gold mine. It's a fucking gold mine. It's layered. It's beautiful. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. I don't know how AMC made it happen in the first place. I don't think that they had the advertising money from, you know, they didn't have as many people watching it to justify the budget for this show, you know? It's like they did like The Walking Dead and all this other shit just so they could keep Mad Men on the air and get like awards, you know? And it's like, what a precarious fucking miracle situation, you know? Like, you never find that. And I'm so glad that this happened. Matthew Weiner, he's a fucking magical motherfucker. To be able to even create this show, get it on the air, and keep it going for fucking, you know, 7.5 seasons. I mean, hats off to you, sir. I mean, that guy just fucking did it. I'm glad he had his chance. I'm glad he got to do it. I would love to see more stuff like this. I can't wait for whatever the next thing that is as awesome as this is. So, anyways, that's it, I guess, for my Mad Men review. Oh, P.S. I am a little sad that Ken never went back to writing, but, you know, the life that wasn't lived, you know, maybe in another life, Ken will finally get to do his writing. And I can't believe he lost his eye. And Harry's a dick. I love that they didn't even put Harry in the ending, because he's just kind of an asshole, so they don't even put him in there. Because he's just so unevolved, you know, he's just such a fucking asshole. But anyways, that's it for Mad Men. I fucking love it. Watch it on Netflix. I shouldn't be telling you that, because you should have already watched it. And also, don't forget, right now we have our limited edition Zealot posters on sale at cbg19.bigcartel.com. Signed, personalized, and kissed. And, you know, I send them out, and I put them in those tubes, and I make the postage and fucking put them in the mail for you. So go ahead and get one. If you're looking for some Zealot 90s hotness in your life, if that's what you need on your garage wall, then fucking go for it. So also, again, check out Epic History X-Men Volume 1 on Vimeo On Demand, and I will see you guys on the flip side.